Hi guys, in today's video we'll be taking another look at properties. We'll look at some different ways you can declare properties both with a getter and a setter, or in some cases just with a getter by pulling in fields and properties from elsewhere in your custom object classes. So let's jump into Visual Studio and take a look. So this is our custom object class project that we've started in the previous few videos. We've got some constructors that we built. We've declared some variables. We've declared some functions. And we're going to look at different ways we can declare properties in our classes. So previously, we've just used the standard declaration. We were just saying it's public, it's this type, this is its name, and it can be gotten and it can be set. So that's not always ideal. There are some cases where you might want to have a property that is actually a computed value, i.e. it's essentially the result of a function. So we could say public string display name. And the reason we'll call this display name is because we might find that in our programs, when they get complicated, we want a uniform way for displaying the user's full name. We might want to show it to other users to say maybe this user did something, or we might want to say, you know, in a salutation, hello, first name plus last name. And that's something that you'll find you probably do a lot when you work with this type of object. And it gets a bit tedious after a while. So what you might find is actually, I'm going to create a display name property. And rather than making it a get and a set property, I'm just going to declare my own custom get, which works a bit like a function. It needs to return a string because the property type is string. And we could return first name plus, and we'll add a space in there, plus last name. And then now we've got a nice shorthand property, which will always return our formatted display name. And it will always pull in the latest data that's been set to first name and last name. So if we go into our program.cs and we've got our class, we've got our Steve here, we've got his first name and his last name. So we'll just output something to the console. So console.writeLine, and we will say first display name for Steve is, and then we'll just output Steve. Display name. So see, we've got this nice helper property. We could have also declared it as a function, but then we'd have to call it like that, and it'd just be a little bit less uniform and a little bit sort of less easy to access. So if I just pop a breakpoint in here, and we'll run that. And if we open our console app, so the display name for Steve is Steve Smith. So we've actually created that helper method, and we can just access that everywhere now. We don't need to keep writing this piece of code everywhere when we would just want to join those two names together. So this is the long way of doing it. So this is a very short standard declaration, get and set. But if you just want to have a get method, there is actually a different syntax that you can use. So we'll just make another one alongside it, and we'll call it public string, and we'll say, just call it display name quick. And what you can do is you can actually use your implied syntax, a bit like what we used in the searching and filtering. So you just say equals and greater than, and then we can just return first name plus last name. And this is exactly the same as this. It's just a much quicker way to write the code. It's kind of a bit less readable, I suppose. In here you can see, oh, when they get it, it returns this. This is just very quick. We've got it's public, it's a string, it's display name, and the value is implied as being this. And if we go into our program, and we'll just copy and paste this, and we'll say quick display name, and we'll just call display name 2. And if we run that, oh, I've named that wrong, have I? Oh, display name quick, that's what we called it. So display name quick, and we'll press run. And yep, you see, it's exactly the same result. So that's two other ways that you can implement variables that are essentially read-only. You can just pull out the details. But that's a very nice way to create a sort of clean interface and apply sort of string joining to some of the inner properties you've already got, and expose that in a nice way for people who are using your class. So it might be sensible if you go away and see if you can think of some other property declarations that might be useful for your contacts. Hi guys, well done for making it to the end of the video. Just a quick heads up that there is a link to the project files from today's session in the video description. If you have any questions about anything we've covered today, feel free to leave me a comment. And as always, I will see you in the next one.